I'm your host, Dorothy. Welcome to Egg Donation Friends webinar number 11. Today's topic is IVF and family balancing gender selection in Europe, when and how. Today's presenter is Dr. Murat Önal, a medical director, also a gynecologist and obstetrician at Gynolife IVF Center in Nicosia, Cyprus. His presentation will last about 20-25 minutes. After that, the Q&A session will follow. If you want to ask a question, please type it in the chat section. All the questions will be answered by our expert. The webinar is being recorded as usual, and you will be able to see the recording on our website. We will also publish transcript with all the questions and answers. Dr. Murat, good evening.
Good evening. Hello. Good evening to everyone. Today I will try to explain gender selection in Europe and when we should do this and how we can do this. Section is a very popular topic and why we should do this. There is two main reasons why we should do this treatment. One is for some genetical reasons, and second is for family balancing. If families want to have a girl or boy, they may apply for this treatment. My presentation is going basically on some genetical reasons and explain how we can do the sex selection. For the chromosomal description, X chromosome may carry some very important genetical disorders. And these disorders may cause a very affected babies, and the families may want to eliminate these risks by choosing the genders of their babies. If a father is not unaffected, but if a mother is a carrier and this genetical problem is on carrying on the X chromosome, it may be carried to the boys by 15% if it's a boy. So family may want to choose the gender of the baby. If they have a girl, they may not have affected baby. So they may try to go for the PGD. Which genetic conditions may cause these X-linked or Y-linked problems, and may because of the genders? The most common are red-green color blindness, hemophilia, some muscular dystrophies, and maybe for Y-linked, we can say ichthyosis, streaks. It's a dermatological problem. It's Y-linked, very rare, but X-linked diseases, the four of them are very well known, and I know you've heard this before. Well, you can see that this X chromosome, and on the chromosome, there are sections of the genetical problems. These are the genes, and according to these, we can sometimes we can do more genetical problems. We can do the further investigations such as the setup procedures, and we can check directly for these genes. But for a better solution, for a simple solution, we can choose the genders. And if we have girls for the X-linked diseases, we may not have these kind of troubles in our babies. With PGS, and gender selection may be helpful in achieving healthy pregnancy and healthy baby, but which methods we can use? We have two main groups. The one is sperm selection, and the other one may be pre-implantation genetical screenings. Now I will explain you the sperm selection part first. The first one is if you have interested in doing the gender selection, I'm sure that you have heard these two techniques. These techniques. First one is the sperm sorting. The other one is microsort. Both techniques are trying to distinguish X and Y's. They want to separate them. So if we have sperms with X or Y, we may have a higher chance to have those kind of genders. By selecting these techniques, we can do IVI, intrauterine insemination, or IVF. Both techniques can be used, but these techniques, they have some disadvantages. For example, these techniques are not 100% sure gives us the results. For example, if we are doing sperm sorting, they may give us approximately 70% or 80% of success rate to find the accurate result. And for the microsort, it is 65 to 70% to getting the male baby and 90% to get the girl baby. But I'm outlining my sentence that they cannot give us percentage. So these techniques, if we want to have a simple solutions, may just increase our chances a bit more. But if we do the genetical testing to our embryos, it is well known pre-implantation screening. Our success rate to find the accurate results and finding the right gender will be approximately 99%. To do these techniques, we have to do IVF, and we have to collect eggs from the woman and fertilize them with the husband's sperm, and we should do the follow-ups of the embryo, and according to the embryo development, we should do biopsy procedures to the embryos. And when we get the biopsies, we send them to the genetic lab, and when we get the results, we can give family the right answers. To do the PGD for gender selections, we may prefer two kinds of techniques in genetical conditions. The first one is FISH. The other technique is now the new technologies, RACGH and NGS techniques. What is FISH? It's a molecular cytogenetic technique that uses fluorescent probes that binds to only those parts of the chromosomes with a high degree of sequence complementarity. And spectral karyotyping involves FISH using multiple forms of many probes with the result to see each chromosome labeled through its metaphase stage. For gender, there are also chromosomes. This FISH method can be identified. So, in the FISH method, we can also have a look to the chromosomes, some chromosomes, and sex chromosomes. Genders are also chromosomes. So with this technique, we can check the genders of the baby before transferring them to the endometrial cavity. Advantages and disadvantages. It is possible to make day 3 biopsy to the embryo. Its name is blastoma biopsy. And embryos can be transferred in a couple of days according to the results. When we do the embryo biopsy to our embryos, this technique will give us very fast. In one day, we can get the results. So we can transfer these embryos in the same treatment month. But these are the advantages, but it has also a big disadvantage. Day 3 biopsy may have negative effect on embryo due to the biopsy technique. So this may cause us bad embryo quality results or maybe increased miscarriage rate after the positive pregnancy rate. Here you can see the blastoma biopsy. Blastoma biopsy means in the day 3 of the embryos, there are approximately 7 to 8 cells of the embryo, and we take one or two cells from this embryo. And when we get, the embryo will recover itself and continue its development again. And you see one cell is removing from the main part, and we took it, we fix it, and genetic lab will do the investigation of the embryo's genetic diagnosis. But this technique also has some disadvantages as well. The first one is we just take one cell, but there is autocorrection of the embryo. So if this embryo is maybe reported as, for example, aneuploidic, means abnormal chromosomal structure, but maybe after a couple of days later, this embryo may correct itself and it will be a normal embryo afterwards. But we will day 3 informations and the result may not be correct. But gender part is very accurate. 99% is correct. To understand that the embryo is healthy or not, but also giving the less harmful effect to the embryo, and also to understand the genders, now we can use the array-CGH or GS technology. These methods let us to identify all chromosomes. It means 22 pairs of somatic chromosome pairs and also X and Y, which is 24. We name it 24 sure. These tests, the results are reliable, 99.9% in some cases, but we say 99%, their results are correct. And we can check all of the chromosomes, so they can increase the pregnancy rate, and also they can these tests can decrease the miscarriage rate. In case of we find a normal embryo and we transfer it, the results will be much better. Here you can see the trophectoderm biopsy. You can see that this system will take some cells from the crust of the embryo. So the inner layer is containing the main cells. So it will not have a harmful effect to the embryo, and also it can take a couple of cells, so the genetic lab may be able to understand results more accurate. So it will be much safe technology to understand the genetic chromosomal structure of the embryo. Here is the NGS and CGH report. It can give us, the report is going to be like this. The black layer is the normal. It should be normal. It is the black. Red part means there is an absence of the chromosome. The blue layer is color is, it means that in that chromosome there is an excess. So here the blue layers are trisomies, such as, for example, trisomy 21, Down syndrome. We can understand the 21st chromosome is on the blue layer, we can say it. Or also in the last part, X, if the last part is Y, it shows us that there is an absence. So these babies are girls. If it is positive layer, blue layer, it means XY. So this test will tell us that this embryo is a boy. But from the first to the 22nd chromosome, you can check all of the chromosomes and also X and Y. So this test will give us most accurate and the better results to understand. I already explained this, PGS, what we are doing. For the family balancing, also these technologies, I explained you to do the X-linked disease and to get the girl or boy embryos to understand it and transfer it according to that. But some families may want to make a family balancing as well. So these technologies can be used to do this process as well. Of course, there are ethical considerations, and some countries it's legal, in some countries it is not illegal. It is illegal, so this is very challenging to do for the family balancing, but technologies can be used for this process as well. What will be the treatment? What is this for the PGS? It's an IVF treatment. Of course, the hormonal injections may be changed with them protocols. In our center, we prefer antagonist protocol, and we do 10 to 12 hormonal injections for 10 to 12 days hormonal injection. Then pickup procedure, it means eggs collection. And when we collect the eggs, fertilization with the husband's sperm, and we see the embryo development. And day 3 or day 5, we do the embryo biopsy. And according to the results, we are planning to do the embryo transfer. Of course, woman's age, woman's number of eggs will determine to find the healthy embryo, also to find the boy or girl, because in every single embryo has 50% to be a girl or boy. So the more eggs will increase the chance to find the healthy or to the genders what we want to have. Thank you.
Dr. Murat, thank you very much for the presentation. So now I think we can start a questions and answer session. Dear users, if you have any questions, please type them in the chat section. Okay, I think we have the first question. Okay, we can start. Is the genetic testing done in your in-house lab or do you send it elsewhere? This is a question from Carol.
Yes, it's a nice question. Thank you. We are an IVF center. If we are going to do a genetical testings, we have to have a perfect genetic lab. So we are sending it to a big genetic lab to have the most accurate results. So if you don't have full full lab, you cannot do the genetic things, and you have to have like a very good genetic specialist to give you the results. You should have the best genetic conditions in the lab. So we prefer to send it to a genetic lab, not to do in house lab.
Okay, thank you. And next question. If I do chromosome screening using NGS, can I see XY results per embryo? This is a question from Doris.
Yes, during the NGS technology, we are able to see the X and Y results per embryo.
Okay, thank you. Next question. And if I can see the results, so who is responsible for selecting embryos for the transfer?
First of
Because
all,
you said you can see the results or the patient can see the results.
we see the results. And of course, it's an information paper, so the patients may not understand the whole. We are not expecting them to understand the test paper. So we have to do the consultation to our patients, and we will decide altogether how many embryos we should transfer, and about the genders as well.
Okay, thank you. Another question. Question from Carol. What are the risks to the embryo with genetic testing for sex selection? Are there any risks?
For day 3 biopsy, there may be little risk because of the biopsy procedure. And in my presentation, I told that there may be some negative results on the embryo development, and also during the pregnancy. You may have miscarriages, biochemical pregnancies. It may be increased, but in the day 5 embryo biopsy, trophectoderm biopsy, these risks are very, very low.
Okay, thank you. A question from Asifur. My wife is 53 years old. Can we have a baby with an egg donor in Cyprus? Yes.
In Cyprus, yes, you can do, but according to our Ministry of Health, you need to show us a cardiologist and internal doctors approval for pregnancy and IVF.
Okay, thank you. Another question from Doris. What I mean, if I know which embryo is X or Y, then I may select the preferred one. Is that correct?
Yes, if the IVF center gives that opportunity to tell you, because in every country it is not possible, yes, you can select.
Okay, thank you. Question from Alex. Do I have to do IVF to do PGD or PGS?
Yes, because we have to have embryos to do the biopsy procedures. The other techniques is just for the sperm selection, and with those techniques, with lower probability to have the gender selection, you can do the intrauterine insemination techniques. But to do PGD or PGS, you have to do IVF.
Okay. Do we have any more questions? Yes, someone is typing a question. Let's wait a moment. Yes, we have another question. Can I give a reason for the gender selection IVF that I'm afraid of having a child with genetics abnormalities?
First of all, PGD testing will give us information about the chromosomal abnormalities. Of course, there are other genetical abnormalities as well. For example, I can give you the information. We can give the examples of some single gene disorders, maybe thalassemia or sickle cell anemia. These kind of genetical abnormalities with this technology, we cannot give you the guarantee. But if you want us to, for example, if you are a carrier of a mutation, and if your husband is also a carrier of the same mutation, you can tell us, and we will do the setup procedures, and we can have a look to that specific gene problem as well.
Okay, I can see Doris has written that she's not a carrier of any mutations. So does that change your answer, or?
There is approximately 5,000 genetical abnormalities, and it is accepted that every person has 5 to 10 genetical disorder carrier. So maybe she doesn't know, and she is healthy, but there may be still risk for her to carry some genetical conditions. But this will be important in case of her husband is also a carrier. If we are talking about somatic mutations. For X-linked mutations, it's another kind of things, and gender selection, she can do it for this reason as well.
Thank you very much. Next question. The question is if the fear of giving birth to a sick child may be the reason to do gender selection, even if not a carrier. Okay, so this is the continuation to of a previous question.
For Doris, if you wanted to screen all of the chromosomes, for example, to avoid to have a trisomy 21, Down syndrome baby, or these kind of chromosomal abnormalities, of course you can do PGS, and during this process you may learn the gender of your baby as well. Because carrier is another thing, and the chromosomes is another thing.
Okay, Dr. Murat, thank you. We have another question from Carol. Extra embryos, what are your options at your clinic?
What is extra embryo?
I think Carol means the leftover embryos that were not used in the embryo transfer.
After the embryo transfer, if we have good quality and the chromosomally normal embryos, they may have right to freeze those embryos.
Okay, thank you. Question from Ella. We are planning to travel to Cyprus for IVF. Can I start the process locally before we travel for the embryo transfer?
Yes, yes, because this process from the beginning to the end is approximately 17 to 20 days. So all of the patients may not be able to stay in Cyprus for 20 days. So generally, they start their treatment in their own country, own city, and they come here for the last days of the ovulation induction, or they just directly come to the egg collection time and wait until the embryo transfer.
Thank you. Okay, next question from Alex. What's the maximum age for men? Can you use sperm of a 45-year-old?
There is no maximum age for men for these treatments because we choose the sperms. Also, we do the genetic testing, but we can use sperm of a 45 years old man. It is not like women's anatomical and physiological conditions. The man has the longer fertility period when we compare it with women.
Thank you. Let's check if we have any more questions. Somebody's typing a question. Let's wait a moment.
Okay.
Yes, two people are typing questions. Let's wait. One more question from Doris. Are there any indications to do the chromosome screening, NGS, within IVF with donor eggs, as eggs are from a healthy donor, I guess?
In my center, NGS recommendation to the egg for the egg donations, I generally recommend my patients, which is they tried lots of attempts with egg donation, for example, 3 or 4 attempts before, and if they failed attempts, I can advise them to go to NGS with donations. And or if has a chromosomal abnormality, for example, Nicosia or any kind of those problems, I directly advise them to go NGS, even if it's egg donor or not. The second part is very important questions. Thank you, Doris, for asking. Eggs are from healthy, but being healthy or being young doesn't mean that all of the eggs are healthy. They may be they seem very quality one, very good quality eggs, but their internal structure, the genetical part may be normal. So, of course, the percentage of unhealthy egg is very low in the egg donors. That's why I don't recommend in the first step or to my patients. But if we have more a lot of attempts unsuccessfully, in that case, we may think about to do the NGS, or the chromosomal screening. The woman may be healthy, and the chromosomal structure may be normal. For example, in 20s, you can say that 80% of the eggs are normal, 80–90% of eggs are normal. But according to some research, in a woman in 43 years old, only 8% of the eggs are normal. There is no 100% normal statistical thing in any age. So to be sure, 100%, and doing NGS it will be a right decision. But if you are young, if your egg donor is young, in the first step, I would not recommend you to have NGS to have a normal embryo. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Murat, for this extensive answer. We have one more question, I think. I could see one more question from a user. I think it's gone. The question was, what is the number of embryos do you recommend for embryo transfer? The question is not here. This is additional question.
To transfer the number of the embryos, if
yes,
we are going to transfer the embryos with PGS, for example, with NGS, their implantation rate is very high. So we may want to transfer one embryo actually, but if patient wants to have twins, we can, and they have healthy embryos, we can transfer 2 embryos. But with PGD, we will not recommend 3 embryos or more, just 1 or 2.
Okay, perfect, fantastic, 1 or 2. Okay, I think we have slight connection issues. I'm getting feedback that the sound is breaking up a little bit, so I think we will be slowly finishing our webinar for today. If there are no more questions, yes. Dear attendees, if you have any more questions, or if you think of some questions after the webinar, you can contact me at dorothy@ivfmedia.org, or you can contact our patient coordinators on our site, and they will be able to direct you to Dr. Murat or somebody at the clinic, and we will answer your questions. Let's check if we have any other questions. Oh, there's one more question. I think if you can answer 2 more questions. This is a question from Chi-An. Without normal embryos, could I consider to transfer mosaic embryos? Is it possible to transfer? Is it recommended to transfer mosaic embryos?
Mosaic embryos is now a very popular topic in the scientific field. After passing from CGH technology to NGS, which is NGS is more sensitive technology, we can easily be able to detect the mosaic embryos. So for the mosaic embryos, we do the consultation with our genetic consultants, and there is a percentage. If it is less than 20%, in our centers, they strongly recommend to transfer it. But if it is more than 20%, it depends on the percentage rate, and we will discuss it with the patient, and we will transfer it according to that. But we cannot say we can transfer all mosaic embryos because this is not our first aim to do. And it also is important the percentage of the resin and the chromosomes, the numbers, these are important.
Thank you very much. Do we have any more questions? Okay, I think that's it for today. Dear attendees, thank you for your questions. I hope you learned a lot about family balancing and gender selection. Thank you very much for attending. Dr. Murat, would you like to add anything in the end?
Thank you, Egg Donation Friends, to give us the opportunity to talk this topic, and also the attendees. Thank you for being here, listening to me, and for nice questions. I'm also thankful.
Yes, the questions were really good. I think
Yeah,
a lot
they
of
were
patients
good.
are interested in the subject. If you have any more questions after the webinar, you can contact our coordinators on our website. Dr. Murat, thank you very much once again. Dear attendees, thank you very much for attending, and have a good evening, everyone. Good night.
Thank you. Bye-bye.